And for the first official Mayo Monday this season, here is the head coach of the New England Patriots, Jerod Mayo. Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just before we get started, I heard about Chris's dog, Pudge. And, I just want to offer my condolences to him. I understand, dogs are man's best friend, and I've been through that, so I can empathize with him. But sorry to hear that bad news.
Thank you, Jerod. Very nice of you to say.
We are, I'm sure, like you, very excited about getting this season underway. And you got a couple preseason games under the belt here, first time as a head coach. Just wanted to ask you about the in-game experience and how different it was or has been so far this season from where you were last season.
Yeah, the in-game experience has been good. When you don't have to worry about making substitutions and can just see the game and see what's happening on the field, it's a very cool experience. And obviously I'm not going to be, it's my second preseason game. I'm going into the third preseason game. I'm going to approach this like a real game because we start on the road, and this is our only opportunity to really do a road preseason game.
Did you give any thought at all to going with the cutoff hoodie or no?
The short sleeve hoodies, they sell them. They just sell them. They sell them I like short sleeve hoodies. I love hoodies. I always have them.
Jerod, back in the spring, you said that Drake Maye had a lot to work on, and it seems like from the outside looking in, he has made a lot of progress. In your seat, what's been the best part about Drake Maye coming into this preseason, and has he made a lot of progress from the spring?
He's definitely made progress, and I would say overall, just his command of the huddle and his progressions have been pretty good. He still has a lot to work on. Let's not forget he is a rookie quarterback, and there are things that will show up that he hasn't seen before. And you have to remember in the preseason games, usually the defenses and the offenses, it's really basic. And so he'll still continue to develop and see new things, but I like where he is.
Jerod,
let me just warn you, Jerod. Wiggy's got some issues here when it comes to quarterbacks, so I hope you're ready for them. As a former player, he's got some issues.
So what went into your decision? Because I think a lot of us fans here, the expectations were, when you see a lot of teams draft a quarterback that high, coming off kind of a losing season, that he would be QB1. He would be the number one guy. What went into your decision on to going in it seems like a different direction with Jacoby Brissett being QB1?
I wouldn't say a different direction. I would say that Jacoby has played in this league for a long time, and he has really earned the right, and I would say earned the respect of his teammates and also the coaches to go out there and move the ball. Now, in saying that, we came into the season, even like right after we drafted Drake at 3, with a plan, a development plan. And so sometimes I feel like, not that people are talking out of both sides of their mouths, but, we talk about how he's developed here during training camp, but then also why isn't he playing? And so, like I said, we're going to stick to the plan. It may not be a popular plan, but we're doing what we think is right for the organization, not only in the near term, but also the long term.
Yeah, and I think, listen, that's what we do. We get paid to talk out of both sides of our mouth. So I understand that. And I think when you talk about a development plan, and I know you're not going to tell us exactly what it is, but I'm kind of
I'm you in an email. I sent you the plan in the email. It might have got lost in spam.
I got one email from you, which I think just said burn some cash.
Oh, jeez.
Don't bring that back up, please. Don't bring that back up.
But so was that plan to bring him along slowly, and is that based on concerns that you might have about the offensive line or experience that you've had when it comes to watching other rookie quarterbacks drafted where he is and their entry into the league?
I think that's a great question and a valid point. we're definitely trying to figure out not only the best 5 offensive linemen as individuals, but what best combination will give this team, a great chance to win. And so that definitely played a part of it. I would also say I'm a huge believer that it all starts up front, whether we're talking about defensive line or we're talking about offensive line, and we'll move from there. Now, in saying that, I'm not sure, when we say the starting offensive line, I'm not sure how you guys see it. I know that we have a plan there as well for the offensive line. And I think, you see David Andrews out there, and he is a starter, right? He started a long time in this league. But at the same time, if he was to come out of the game and everyone was still in the game, is that the starting offensive line? And so I don't want to get confused with managing a veteran player in Dave Andrews and then start talking about starters on the offensive line.
Jerod, one of the things that you talked about, and you've been around the game long enough to know that you have specific plans or game plans, and then things happen, and then all of a sudden you have to scrap that and change it. One of the things that you've been talking about is Drake Maye's development, and him now. It looks like there's like a competition there. Is there a chance? I know you talked about developmental plan, but is there a chance that within these next couple of weeks before your season opener, that maybe he performs at a level where your plan might change a little bit, where he could potentially see more action or even be the starter come week 1?
100%. And we're still in training camp. We still have, our preseason game against Washington. And once again, we don't have a starting quarterback right now. When it's time, we'll announce that. But he could absolutely be QB1. So could Jacoby. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
What is the number one thing you need to see out of Drake to make him QB1?
I would say with all positions, it's just consistency. You don't want to ride the up and down waves, and that's what he's been proving here as of late, and we'll see if this trajectory continues to go that way.
Jerod, just as a general rule, I'm curious as to, there's the conversation, and it's not specific to Drake Maye. It's rookie quarterbacks, the NFL. It's, every year there seems to be 4 or 5 first-round quarterbacks taken where this debate goes on. What could happen to a rookie quarterback behind a line or a team that's not ready that could damage them long-term? And is that your concern? Is it just you want everything to be right before you begin a new career as opposed to starting and learning from the beginning?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say whether you're in your first year or your 10th year at the quarterback position, if you feel that you're not comfortable in the pocket, it's a huge detriment not only to the quarterback position but to the team. And so when you talk about building confidence in your teammates, that's what training camp is all about. That's what the preseason game is all about. And hopefully these quarterbacks are starting to get that, build that trust. I understand the offensive line had a hard day against Philly, not to look back in the past, but overall, I would say the offensive line and the pockets, if you watch the games and if you watch practice, have done a good job. And those guys going forward, they'll continue to get better. And once again, the combination of guys up front, they have to be able to play with other people. Look, people get injured, people get benched, new starters, all that stuff. They have to learn how to play together. And so when you see players playing at different positions up front, we're just trying to gather information and see what the best 5 looks like.
We had Jelani Tavai on about a half an hour ago, and he was talking about a big difference for him this year is the way you as a head coach interact with younger guys. Robert Kraft said a very similar thing on this show a couple weeks ago. I wanted to ask you about that in light of Matthew Judon, and if we all saw what happened with you two out on the field. Did the way that interaction happened bother you? Do you wish it happened differently? And was that a factor when it came to Matthew Judon not being here any longer?
Look, Matthew and I have a great relationship, and I'm not sure what you guys saw, but we had a conversation man to man, which I thought was a good conversation. It wasn't heated. It wasn't anything like that. It was more just to figure out, what are we trying to achieve here? Matthew, look, he's made many contributions to our team. I love him both as a player and as a man, but I have nothing but good things to say about him. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out. What I will say, I think it's a win. I think it's a win-win. He wanted a new contract and things like that, and I think it was a win-win for all of us.
Jerod, one of the things that I know you kind of touched base on a little bit is just the third preseason game, being on the road. When you start to look at that, I know it's still a few days away. What's your approach going to be with this game? Because with this new format, it's almost like even though it's the third preseason game, it's the last one. And in years past, we know a lot of the first teamers don't play in that. What's your approach with this preseason game when it comes to your first teamers and what you're going to do, especially with it, like you said, it being on the road?
Yeah, Wiggy, I mean, look, you remember back in the day we had 4 preseason games, and so now we have 3, and I anticipate everyone that is healthy is going to play in the game. Once again, I've said this over the past few weeks, the only way you get good at football is playing football. So all of these guys are preparing as if they're going to play in the game.
Jerod, how important is it for you to just be your own guy? We've seen a lot of people that learned under Bill or with Bill that have tried to sort of replicate that without Bill, and it hasn't had the greatest results. How do you feel you've done, and how important is it for you to just be your own man and not try and be Bill Belichick as the head coach?
Well, I think, looking out the front windshield, that would be for you guys to decide. I am my own man, always have been. I learned a lot from Bill, and I just do some things a little bit differently. But that would be for you guys to decide going forward.
Well, real quick, I want to, and this is credit to you, we have a new sponsor for this segment, Mayo Mondays, and it is Hellman's Mayonnaise. Happy to have them. Happy to have them on board. And we have the Hellman's Mayo question for Mayo right now, Courtney.
Jerod, I got to ask about slip and slide day because it's fascinating to me. Having the rookies do the slip and slide, how do you make sure that you're getting what you need out of them during that without them getting hurt?
That's been a long-standing tradition here for, it's been a long-standing tradition, and I think it's important. It helps build camaraderie. It also puts those guys in a tough position to go out there and handle the rest of the practice when things aren't right, when your shoes are soaking wet, your jersey's soaking wet, and you can see how guys respond, and you want them to respond positively, but that's not always the case. I would also say we made the first-time coaches do the slip and slide, myself included. As a first-time head coach, I did the slip and slide. You saw Hightower out there doing the slip and slide. It's just one of those things that helps bring us together.
All right, I got to ask you about this because we've had some fun with it. The virtual reality portion of training camp, were there virtual sprints? What? Tell me a little bit about that.
Virtual sprint. No, so the virtual reality system has been good. You want to get everyone reps in practice, especially at the quarterback position, but we are limited by time and we're limited by the CBA as far as being out on the field. And I think tools like the virtual reality system help these guys steal reps. No virtual sprints, though. No virtual sprints.
All right, good. It's good to clear
I
that
would
up.
dominate virtual sprints.
Yes, you would.
All day long.
You'd be great on the virtual sled as well, Wiggy.
Virtual diet.
The virtual diet.
I'm light.
Jerod, we've all had that experience.
Wiggy didn't like that joke.
I've heard him long enough, Jerod. I can get through it.
We've all had that experience where you run into an old girlfriend, somebody you used to date, and they look fantastic. Did you experience that at all watching any of Mac Jones on Saturday night?
Look, I wish nothing but the best for Mac, and he's having a good preseason, and I'm happy for him. I always talk about these are long-term relationships. You guys have heard me say that, and I wish him nothing but the best unless he's playing against the Patriots.
Jerod, you talked about like a lot of the first-time coaches, and this being your first time as a head coach. When you start to look at it, some of the roles that some of the guys are doing, we see DeMarcus Covington. It looks like he's the guy who's calling the plays from the sideline. Is there going to be some times where we see you doing that, or is it more of like him, but collectively your group approach? What's your approach, especially being a defensive guy when it comes to, maybe calling the plays?
We have coordinator meetings multiple times every week, and we go through the plans. Obviously, those plans change depending on how the game is going, but we're on the same page offensively, defensively, and also special teams. You got to remember, I was a special teams core player as well, so don't want to forget about the special teams. But I have great faith in those guys to go out there and handle the things that we've talked about in peace, and that those times of peace are in the coordinator meeting. So in the game, it's kind of hectic, and we're all on the same page.
When it comes to a player like Brandon Aiyuk, is that take us through how that decision making happens? Is that Elliott's call? Is that your call? Is that Robert Kraft's call? Do you guys do it collaboratively? Like, how do you end up putting together the deal that we have heard that you put together for that player?
It's a collaborative approach, and first of all, I thank ownership for entrusting Elliott and myself with making these decisions. He's still Aiyuk is still holding out, so it definitely it wasn't us. It wasn't just us. He'll probably end up playing in San Fran, but ultimately on the roster decisions, Elliott will make that final call. We get negative sometimes, and do you get the feeling that it will be difficult to get big money free agents here for a while? I think once this thing starts coming together and we start winning games, I think more players would want to come. I mean, it's a great place out here in New England. If you love football, this is the place that you want to be.
Yeah. For a lot of fans, a bit worried about the tight end position. You guys have a banged up tight end room right now. Should we be worried, or are you okay with it?
No, I mean, I'm okay with it, and I would say these aren't extended, recoveries for these guys. They'll be ready to go relatively early in the season.
All right. Well, we thank you for taking the time. How was it? Our first time together, really.
It was great. It was great. Okay. It was great. How was the Hellman's Mayo?
The Hellman's Mayo. I have this idea. Do you have like 1 minute? I have this idea for extra mayo where we ask you a question and then play it later. Do you have any? Can you hang on for 1 minute, or do you have to be gone? I mean, maybe we could do it when we're live with you. Right. I'll introduce that later when we're down at Gillette next week.
Let's that's an in-person offer.
That's in-person only, Curtis?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Coach. Thanks for taking the time, and we will look forward to talking to you Monday after the final preseason game on Sunday.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys.
Wait, Wiggy has one. What?
And CeeDee is holding out CeeDee Lamb, so.
So can't talk about players on other teams, but you can put a call in. I'm sure you know Jerry.
All right, Wiggy. There you go. All right, thanks, Coach. There you go.
All right, thanks.
All right, there he is.
Put a call in. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.